Hello everyone and welcome. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming full moon that we have in the sign of Capricorn on the 3rd of July 2023, and it takes place at around 11 degrees and 18 minutes of the sign of Capricorn, which means that the sun is at the same degree of the sign of Cancer, illuminating the full moon. Now, please stay tuned to the end of this video because I'm going to have a horoscope for this full moon for all of the 12 signs individually. But before we get there, I would just like to mention the more general specifics, and according of course to my subjective opinion and experience, this might be one of the more fortunate, one of the more easier energies, which might bring a lot of joy, a lot of delight, a lot of, respite from some very heavy energy shifts and other aspects that are heavily influencing our life, especially collectively speaking at the present moment. So as I said, this can be a well-deserved moment of respite when the energy does get, easier, like a blessing, like a maybe karmic reward or manifestation, because naturally, especially in mysticism, full moons have a lot to do with, the completion of the lunar cycle. So one way or another, something coming to fruition, getting what we worked for, getting what, the seeds of intention that we planted into the universe might be, fully grown at a full moon, but especially so at a Capricorn full moon. And the reason for that is the ancients considered Capricorn to be the top of the sky, so the stage of manifestation. So already one of the energies that can play out in the lives of many, regardless of your sun sign, and maybe regardless even of your personal specifics and of course the collective around you, there might be a moment of clarity, because a full moon is also a time of illumination, or you feeling especially close, especially, let's say, connected to life path or soul purpose, or even moments of joy within career, within something that you are working on or have been working on, that of course one way or another we project onto the world, we project onto others, but whatever this means for you specifically. Another specific of this energy is that at the time of the full moon, the sun is conjunct Mercury. The conjunction is not very tight, but before the full moon, there is a sun and Mercury conjunction, and that is basically an aspect of clarity, an aspect of deep understanding, Cancer, especially emotional integration, emotional, even illumination. But even at the time of the full moon, the sun and Mercury are conjunct. The sun being at 11 degrees, the Mercury being at 14 degrees of Cancer, of course. So this might mean clarity. This might actually mean understanding, but understanding that brings compromise, understanding that brings either a manifestation or a clear feeling, clear visage, clarity in any way, shape, sense and form with something that is ultimately very important to you. And even if it's like an emotional integration, emotional clarity, the feelings are cleared up regarding something, this can also represent emotional empowerment, because the moon is standing across the sky in an opposition with Mercury. So the rational parts bring something to the table, and the not so rational, the, let's say, unconscious, subconscious, the moon parts bring also something else to the table, and the two, meet and in opposition. And because of other harmonious aspects, they are actually good bedfellows. They are, friends, let's say, with each other. And Mercury is one kind of rationality, But the moon in the sign of Capricorn is also when we have a grip, an understanding, a power, so to speak, on our feelings and even on our unconscious parts. So, as I said, this is quite a fortunate full moon because it gives us, if nothing else, but chances are it will bring other things as well. But let's say that just the feeling of what we are actually trying to do in the world, whatever that means to you, and that is like a moment of empowerment. Now, if we take into consideration an asteroid named Juno, and Juno is relevant more than one sense, and you'll see later on in this horoscope, then it's even more fortunate because there Juno is the asteroid of partnerships. So we feel the support of others. Whatever others mean in the sign of Juno, in the sign of Cancer, it can also be family. It can also be very, very close friends that are kind of like family. It can mean our local community, the support of someone, people who surround us. And it can also be, for example, people who benefit from your work. Because if Capricorn is the top of the sky, then Cancer is the bottom of the sky, your roots, something deeply, deeply personal. And the sun illuminating, of course, this full moon is actually sandwiched between Juno and Mercury. So this means where clarity or the understanding, the emotional integration is also, bestowed by that Juno, others. Connection with others, another person appearing in your life. And, Juno trines Saturn at the time of this full moon. And this is very relevant as well, because that means the sun also holds a trine to Saturn in the sign of Pisces retrograde, which means the moon will hold the sextile, a mystical aspect in itself. So the reason why this is good news, either someone who maybe you supported, or it was a relationship of mutual support or understanding, or spiritual connection, or soulmate, or Saturn retrograde in the sign of Pisces, it can go back to childhood even. It can pop up in your life, or, as I said, people who meet this criteria automatically are, for example, family, or lifelong friends who are there to stay, or existing soulmates even. Support of any kind can come from that area, but for some lucky people, this is where that person returns or replace person even with a community, a group of people, or your own actions, your own sacrifices, your own moments of embodying your principles and faith and ideals perhaps in the past, returning as a blessing to your life. Also because of Juno, as I repeat, the sun is sandwiched between Juno and Mercury, and this usually represents like a triple conjunction where these planets do speak to this full moon. They illuminate this full moon. So this has to be one way or another part of the topic. And the sun is combustive. So it will combust Mercury. So the mind is working. The mind is understanding. This is also a deep aspect of empathy. This is the empathic mind. The mind which, how should I explain this, is actually hand in hand with emotions. It is supportive of emotions. And Juno, the partnership or the connection. And Juno sometimes means connection in a more quantum way, because Cancer, as I said, it can be someone, some people, anything who you influence even indirectly, that can reflect back into your life. Now the moon itself, it holds a trine with Jupiter. Jupiter being at around 9 degrees of the sign of Taurus. Now this is really good news because this is Earth trine, Earth energy. So that means it has a good chance to manifest in a way which influences us quite physically, in a concrete, real way. Some examples. For many people, I would imagine, this might be a moment when they step up in their careers, or they take on something which maybe a few months ago, or when just Saturn dipped into Pisces, seemed to be way too big for them. Now the feelings, the self-confidence perhaps is different. Self-worth is different, and you might be able to embrace it. It can be in job opportunities, it can be career opportunities, it can be taking something that you already possess to the next step of mastery, expressing your mastery, but where this is reflected also upon you. This comes as a reward. For example, even if this plays out as just emotion, the moon, all the reasons why you should step up, etc., etc., well, you can imagine that as you do that, it will bring blessings. Jupiter is the great benefic, the bestower of blessings, the planet of good fortune, if you will, in the tarot, the wheel of fortune, the turning of the fate. And if Taurus is our earthly senses, how we embody life, and everything that has to do with our values within life, then again Capricorn is the stage of manifestation. So this energy does speak about, something which influences is physical popping up in our lives, and that becomes a blessing. Now, if we take into consideration another planetoid, a trans-Neptunian object named Orcus, it also holds a trine with the moon. So this is where it's kind of a grand earth trine. And Orcus in the sign of Virgo, of course, it can bring healing, healing of the digestive tract, our own instinct of how to go about healing, what is the best methodology, modus operandi, or source of healing for us personally. So this brings on an or how should I even express this? More like a instinctual, a deep instinctual intelligence that helps us, that guides us, or actions that we might have taken not so long ago. In this sense, well, they come to fruition. Of course, the Sun sextiles Jupiter, so expressing everything that makes you empowered, especially emotionally. A sextile is an action-oriented aspect. It brings blessings, it brings good fortune. The worth that is reflected upon you, self-worth or any kind of worth, Jupiter in the sign of Taurus, your belief about this. And Jupiter in Taurus is also about embodying your principles. Different way than Saturn and Pisces, but still, it kind of goes hand in hand with this. Can bring favors, can bring the support, the respect, the admiration of others, or it can influence you career-wise in a positive sense. Now, of course, having patience, but not necessarily in the now, but if you had a, for example, challenging period where you did put in effort into something, but that effort was where you knew there would be no instant gratification. That means patience, that means trust, that means sometimes doing it for the sake of principle. That can also reflect back in your life at this time, because Saturn retrograde, Neptune retrograde, Pluto retrograde. Now, of course, at the time of this full moon, there are also certain challenging aspects in the sky, where, for example, Mars still not a very tight, but still kind of holds a square with Uranus, and Mars is conjunct Pallas Athena in the sign of Leo. That means the desire in your heart of hearts. Now, collectively speaking, this aspect might be more volatile than individually, because individually it can just represent the surprise factor, Uranus, of this full moon. And this is in the heart space, so something shocking you on a heart level, and that can also be a very positive thing where you do need to react to it, Mars. And if the reaction is humble, if the reaction is self-contained, you can imagine that it brings that much more blessings. But Venus, the ruler of Taurus, and Jupiter is in the sign of Taurus, holds a square, and Venus is in shadow, with Uranus as well, and Venus is conjunct Black Moon Lilith. So this is also surprises, shocks, regarding values, romantically, regarding material situation. But this Venus square Uranus does need diligence and does need a lot of wisdom, because, for example, it can play out as like overspending, getting, for example, financial rewards, some money, let's say, because, you know, Earth trine, Jupiter in Taurus, all the money, and Capricorn, Moon in Capricorn, what you do with it. If you like go on a spending spree and squander it, well, this is where the Venus square Uranus kind of already defeated the blessing of the full moon. So this needs wisdom, this needs diligence, this needs us to try and keep our hearts somewhat disciplined. To overdo it is not possible, because, you know, Mars, Pallas Athena, Black Moon Lilith, Venus in Leo, the heart is wild, emotions, feelings are definitely free and have a mind of their own, but wisdom can bring a necessary touch of diligence and equilibrium. And also, this can play out as shocks, surprises in love, sensuality, the pleasure of the five senses. Also because that can give a frequency, physical pleasure, but this is where it's not hedonistic. It is not that kind of pleasure. It is actually where it comes as a surprise, a reward from life, or a reward from yourself to yourself for allowing yourself to immerse into this. The pleasure of the five senses can actually boost this quite powerfully. And speaking about Mars, at the time of this full moon, Mars, in conjunction with Pallas Athena, holds a trine with Aries in the sign of Aries. So that is a sovereign, individualistic energy, where finally the self triumphs in something or has a moment of spotlight. Now, on the world stage, again I repeat, this might be a totally different energy, because Mercury, Moon, full moon standing across the sky from Mercury, revelation, revealing certain things, who has the money, who has the control, who and what is responsible for certain things, and Mars square Uranus, and the trine to Aries is rebellious energy, uprising, and Neptune gone retrograde is truth and half-truth and lies and deception. So on the world stage, this can be part of the picture, which can a little bit spoil the Capricorn full moon, but at the same time, clarity and blessings come also collectively. Unity of people, unity of will, unity of purpose, unity of principles, people connecting to one another in a deeper way than usual, which is the empowerment of the people, if you know what I mean. Before I get to the horoscope part, I would just like to say a couple of words about the Sabian symbol of this Capricorn full moon, because I do find it very, very interesting. So the Sabian symbol goes like this: an illustrated lecture on natural science reveals little known aspects of life. So this in itself highlights the revelatory qualities of this degree. So 11, 12 degrees of Capricorn. And a full moon is revelatory, light shedding in itself. So I do imagine, especially on the world stage, This is where it reveals something. It can be secrets because, you know, the moon does hold a sextile with Saturn, and the sun conjunct Mercury trine to Saturn in Pisces. What has been done? And Pisces is immune system. So the medical world's research in that sense. And that is quite significant because a lot has been going on, collectively speaking, especially in the medical industry. And Capricorn is also the sign where we had the conjunction of Saturn, Pluto, Ceres, Mercury, the Sun. But Saturn and Pluto are the, you know, stars of that show in 2020, January 2020. That aspect, that meeting, which did change the whole world, you know, the COVID and all of that. So we might be seeing published news, you know, papers, scientific documents, a whole new side about the medical research or the medical Saturn work of that side of reality, which all of us have experienced in our own individual ways, but collectively as well. The restrictions and all of that. And Saturn in Pisces does mean exactly that. Restrictions, prison, quarantine, confinement. For example, medical institutions where they treat infectious disease. There is a quarantine always there. So something, elements, information, news, communication about that is definitely going to be revealed. But let's get back to the Jupiter trine. Jupiter trine the moon. Jupiter in the sign of Taurus is going through the degrees that Saturn transited in the past years. And Saturn in the sign of Taurus was responsible for a lot of medical research in that sense, because Taurus is also the physical body. So maybe new technologies, new healing methodologies, new discoveries about immune system, etc. might also be part of this new moon as hitting news or revealing them. Now in the following, let's see how this Capricorn full moon may play out for the 12 signs individually. For Aries natives, it is quite a powerful energy because it takes place exactly in your 10th house, so top of your sky. For very many Aries natives, this can play out as completions, clarity, or finding a sense of purpose, a sense of direction within your career. Of course, this can come, you know, Jupiter trine, as a reward for your past work, your past efforts, for each and every time you displayed some kind of personal power and mastery. But this can also come as your own initiative, as your own sense of clarity, where you kind of understand where inner forces are wanting to lead you and guide you next within your career. Of course, this can also be soul path, which, you know, in my personal opinion, is like the soul's career, so to speak. So it is something which, you know, is a little bit above the material plane, even though it can influence that quite a lot. What is your soul, you know, ready to accomplish? What is your soul ready to project on your world? This can be absolutely anything specific to you personally, but chances are, you know, your self-worth, your values, especially those values that you have been very strongly discovering within yourself for the past couple of months. Now, those can be the guide. Those can point to the direction where your soul is wanting to go. Now, of course, when I said the values that you discovered, this is not an easy energy because that was also Uranian. So this is where everything that was not resonant of your deeper value system was challenged in life for any reason that is specific to you personally and to your karmic path, externally, internally, but there was a lot of transmutation that has been taking place in the lives of Aries natives, because Jupiter trines this full moon from your second house, and that is where, it's about your values, material situation, but your philosophical take, your belief, your larger, senses about this that are quite influential, and these might come from the past. But of course, for other Aries natives, it is how they put their existing mastery, their existing power to a very, very good use. Something that they already learned, something that's already under their grip, something that they already worked with. So this can be quite relevant, because chances are this full moon does point to the right direction. But of course, also opposing Mercury, what compromises, what arrangements, for example, living situation, etc., etc., you need to do to balance this out, to make the better of it. Now, this full moon can also come as recognition, as rewards professionally, praises, or your notoriety reaching higher places that it has done until now. And this is due, to the strong Capricornian energy, where whatever you have done in the past, especially sacrifices, whatever, even your, subtle senses, Saturn in the sign of Pisces, has been guiding you to do, for example, like charitable or humanitarian efforts. Those can reflect back at your life very, very strongly now. And when I say charitable, this can also be helping a parent, helping a family member unconditionally, or something that you displayed great maturity with. For example, you were a Saturn, parental figure in the life of another person, even if they're family. All of these things can reflect back in your life right now. So thank you, Aries, and I do hope you enjoy it. For natives born under the sign of Taurus, this full moon takes place in a part of your sky which has a lot to do with your own personal worldview, your higher beliefs, for some even religious, but not really necessarily, your sense of justice and the course of justice in your life, and long distance travels and connections with foreign countries. So this can be quite an interesting and exciting energy, because something from what I mentioned earlier may reflect back at your life, and this reflection may feel like a blessing, and it may also give you a lot of like down-to-earth, concrete, rational mental clarity regarding Mercury in the third house. Dates, times, know-how, how to manage something, how to execute something. A little bit of speculation energy, but that's just mental processing and you creating safe, sound, structured scenarios, how to achieve concrete things in the future. Now, it is absolutely true that this full moon might have been preceded by a lot of turmoil, especially mental turmoil, in the sense that something in your life was challenging and you were forced almost to figure it out in unusual means. Perhaps the common logic, common take on things for some personal reason or maybe karmic reason did not work for you guys. So you really had to tap in the past months into your true ingenuity, with your intelligence, with your mind, with your knowledge, with whatever you could, research on your own terms, solve problems in your life, problems that could not wait. Now, this Capricorn full moon may exactly do just that, offer you a glimpse of what the solution is, or for some natives, it actually comes as the solution, getting you rid of the problem or taking you into a much more advantageous position in that sense. Now, for some natives, this can represent also activities in courts of justice, or it can travel, the circulation of official communication, legal documents, if you've been waiting for replies from certain authorities of the state or institutions that, we all of us are bound to one way or another, paperwork that can come out quite favorably at this moment. Or if you have anything in courts of justice, it can be either good news or quite, because full moon can also mean total completion, quite, as I said, a favorable resolution. Now, for some natives, this can mean an invitation to abroad or people you have been connected to in the past, of course, foreigners or people living abroad, regardless if this is work or if this is personal relationship or a community, you might be connected once again, you might hear from them, or you might be invited for a travel. And also, this can be quite a strong spiritual energy because it will show you how to readjust, how to basically align your life vision, your worldview with, the person who you are becoming. So life can only support you if the core of your very beliefs also nourishes you, nurtures you, takes you there, illuminates your being. Life path in that sense can also be like the lamp of the hermit, which shows us the way where to go. The path itself has to be walked, that's without a shadow of a doubt, but the light, the sense of direction, that's also equally as important as actually walking it. So I do hope this was helpful, and have a blessed full moon, Taurus natives. For natives born under the sign of Gemini, this is quite an intense full moon that they're going to be feeling very, very strongly because it is 8th house activity. And that, without a doubt, is transformational, changing, things that we need to let go of, things that we need to release, or something that perhaps, why not, fated forces take away from us. But because this is a really positive full moon, when I say taking away from us, well, that what they take away, it's a burden, a problem, or something that we don't want in our lives anyway. So it can be a very, very releasing, freeing up, taking up the chains kind of energy, followed by a phoenix moment. Now, this energy for Gemini natives is also very good, and it favors physical healing. Anything that has to do with medicine, medical institutions, doctors, maybe surgical intervention, removing something that should not be there or is corrupted in that sense. This, if you have like any medical visits or medical intervention scheduled at around that time, that can really, really do a good job. But for other natives, this can be where you release something. For example, you no longer share resources with other people who you find unworthy, or where you simply cannot share them anymore. You have to direct the resources towards yourself, and this full moon can give you the strength, the clarity, the determination, the inner power to do just exactly that. But for other natives, this can be very strong spiritual energy, a spiritual empowerment. Your unconscious inner forces might be, regenerating themselves. It might feel very intense because the past can be brought up quite a lot. For example, past traumas, past hurts, relationship with a certain person, problems that also are, for example, in a marriage, and those are going to be taken care of, looked at, and resolved. And when I say looked at, you reaching a state of clarity, a state of truthfulness towards yourself, admitting certain things to yourself, that which, for example, truth which are in your heart of hearts, or certain impulses that your instinctual inner forces, perhaps the inner animal, so to speak, is, insistently wanting for you to be aware of them through dreams, through states, through, perhaps some anxious moments preceding this. Now, those are, as I said, gonna be looked at and integrated, embraced, and processed. Now, when I say it is a blessing. Jupiter trine, without a doubt, is a big blessing, but chances are this energy is not like automatic where you snap a finger and it happens. It does need your contribution quite a lot, and it's also about self-worth. It is like a healing, but a meticulous healing of the self-worth, where the healing does not come as just a feeling that will shift you out of it, but deep knowledge of what exactly went wrong. Mercury conjunct the sun in your second house, and for some natives, self-worth issues might affect their financial situation, and not necessarily in the present, but this has been a period of time, and it becomes all that much clear to you. Why am I not doing so well? Why am I not able to bring out my full potential and this materially work for me? And of course, this, for some natives, this can have a lot to do with, for example, resolving an inheritance that has been delayed, or where the money goes, financial planning, financial speculation even, really, really good for new business plans. But when I say new business plans, this full moon brings the completion of knowledge that you need for that. And last but not least, this energy is also profoundly healing from a sensual and sexual way, because this is 8th house activity, so sometimes regenerating the self-worth, love for the self, is interconnected with more sensual expressions of life. So this can be the manifestation of someone who can reflect a lot of beauty onto you. So thank you, Gemini natives, and have a blessed full moon. For natives born under the sign of Cancer, this is quite a personal energy, because the Sun conjunct Mercury, and not to mention Juno, are in your sign. You guys are the hosts of it. So basically the Sun is projecting its light on the Moon from your personal house onto the 7th house. So without a shadow of a doubt, this will affect your partnerships. Now, the trine and the sextiles that both the Sun and the Moon hold with other planets, for example Saturn and Jupiter, these bring, a very, very favorable element. This bring the blessing of it. But this might not come all that very easily, because this might be preceded by certain activities that you held or you were part of in your group of friends, or people who you share something with. For example, an ideal, a purpose, a faith, a belief. So people who you're connected to on a higher sense. For some Cancer natives, this might actually have a lot to do with humanitarian efforts, charitable efforts, artistic and cultural efforts, where you were part of something, artistic. And when I say artistic, well, that even if it's like amateur, even if it's like out of hobby, that does heal society, so to speak, because it is the art and the love of arts and everything that connects people which heals the collective. So if you guys have been part of that, that can reflect back now at your life as a big blessing. For example, new friends, new partnerships. Cancer natives who are single and looking might exactly find partnership over there. Now, I know that Venus is in shadow, so this is not immediate, but you might not know how, for example, a friend or someone who you considered as a friend can become a valid partner, or someone who was just, a collaborator, simply part of a social activity that you also share, can become a partner. But when I say partner, not necessarily romantically, a job offer, a deeper personal collaboration offer, a business, one-on-one alliance in any way, shape, and form. Now, for those Cancer natives who are in a stable partnership, the blessing can come from your partner's life. Your partner shares something that they accomplished, that they achieved, or it can come as a wonderful surprise offered to you by your partner. Now, this can also play out vice versa, where if your partner needed your support and you have given it to them naturally, but in the past months, even year, now that comes now into play as the strengthening of the love, as the strengthening of the alliance. Maybe some Cancer natives who are in an established bond will take a next step, for example, marriage or engagement, etc. So this energy can be quite favorable in anything that has to do with partnerships. When I say partnerships, you can also take contracts of any nature, one-on-one, because the 7th house is also the house of justice, of the agreement. So blessings and favorable manifestation can come without a doubt from this area of life, and the clarity and the feeling and the sense of empowerment that comes with it. Now, of course, for very few natives, the Sun conjunct Mercury and actually Juno opposing this full moon is actually the termination of a partnership. But Jupiter's blessing and Saturn's blessing can represent a very favorable termination, a peaceful, blessed termination where the partnership transmutes, grows into something else. So I do hope that this was helpful, and wishing every Cancer native a blessed full moon. For natives born under the sign of Leo, this can also be quite an intense full moon, because something from deep within you, either from unconscious forces, soul, spirit, or certain elements, I don't want to necessarily say people, but for many it will take the shape and form of people, certain elements of your life which were in the shadow, which were not necessarily seen, known by you, or you were not aware of them, their revelation or energy, clarity, truth, communication, even knowledge, for example, what happened in the past. Maybe it was a speculation until now, and under the light of this full moon, it's actual fact. You find out this and this and this happened, and there is power in that. There is release in that. There is blessing in that. Whatever that truth and revelation is. But as I said, it will affect your lives quite in a physical sense, because this can play out as blessings coming from your work, coming from your service, coming from your job, something that you sacrifice for, someone that you sacrifice for, or basically if it's like proper job related, the company or the community, etc. Blessings come from there. The work that you do might be, full of rewards, gratification, or it will reveal to other people something about you which puts you into a favorable light, so to speak. But for other Leo natives, as I said, this is where something deep within their unconscious forces manifests and it acts like a blessing, because either it improves life, it improves the quality of life. Some rituals, some daily routines that you have been working on, for example, physical exercise, sacrifices within your daily routine that you've done for healing purposes of any kind. Maybe you went to a specialist, and this is where the therapy is paying off right now. So blessings and completion can come from there, and of course you embrace those activities, those healing elements in your life even more. Now, this can also represent a really, really good period for any kind of physical healing. When you do want to improve your physical condition, or you have certain problems that you feel that now this is the time for me to actually go and do something about it. Now all of this is definitely blessed and empowered by this full moon, and it is not just things that have to do with the physical body. This is also psychological energy where you get into a much better understanding of yourself, and this kind of acts as a strong empowerment. Now, for some natives, this can also come as a rush, especially within your career, within your work, a very, very busy couple of days or a very, very busy week where you are actually called upon to do more than you usually do, but answering this call actually can bring immediate rewards and instant gratification. So it is strongly advised to actually follow fate's lead. Whatever fate calls you to execute, to shine, to show your mastery, to show your know-how, or to show your shining Leo personality, well, those things can lead you to a blessing. Thank you, Leo natives, for listening, and wishing you a blessed full moon. For natives born under the sign of Virgo, this full moon also has its own intensity, because this is where things have been changing, especially regarding your aspirations, your hopes, your dreams. But I want to translate this into a more telluric version, so actually your plans, your projects, because chances are those hopes and dreams are embodied, are lived in the present, and have been, for the past couple of months quite intensely. But Mercury opposing this full moon, because the full moon takes place in the risk house, the 5th house, it brings elements there of clarity which might be inconvenient, which might require you to change the sense of direction, to change your take about them, or where it is that you do need to readjust certain plans in a very, very specific way. Now that comes as clarity, but that clarity, regardless if it comes as information, conversations with a friend, or a larger number of friends or people who you are connected to, come as, mirrors, as reflections of what it is that you need to do differently. Because each and every person, of course, in your circle of friends, connections, acquaintances, etc., etc., is like an own unique version of yourself who does things differently. And it is sometimes time to learn from others, to learn from their experience, to learn from their, modus operandi, and not necessarily to copy them, to do like them, but maybe to learn from their mistakes, to learn where you do not resonate, things and situations and elements which do not resonate at this time are the real blessing, because they will contour and contrast that much more which does resonate. It kind of brings you that much closer to your authenticity and the truth and the feeling and the desire in your hearts of hearts, giving you like a second take on how to get where you need to be in the close future. Your plans, your projects, your lucrative purposes, maybe your travels, maybe who you want to be connected with, which, people who you share a common principle or purpose with. All of this can be very, very favorable to you. And this is an energy which can bring you surprise holidays, a surprise city break, a surprise time out, but in a siesta way. And this energy can also ignite the flames of passion, the flames of love within your heart. For example, for those Virgo natives who are in a stable partnership, this is where you and your partner come up with something that really, really sparks up the relationship in a passionate way. For other Leo natives, maybe blessings can come from the lives of their partner. For others still, especially those who are single, This is where they meet a new love. But of course, for every sign, we must wait until Venus retrograde. It hasn't even begun, but we must wait until Venus retrograde ends in order for us to actually know if we can commit in a stable way or not. But outside of this, the lived experience, the lived moment, a surprise may be there. Someone fancies you, someone finds you very attractive, someone sparks up your creative center, your romantic center, or this can mean where for Virgo natives who are parents, maybe it is the children, your children, who bring you a lot of pleasure, who bring you surprise, who bring you some kind of rewards, and this can make you feel absolutely wonderful. But overall, this is where you get a second take, a new take perhaps, on how to accomplish your goals, your desires, your very concrete lucrative projects, but based on something that life is reflecting at you. So thank you so much for listening and wishing you a blessed full moon. For natives born under the sign of Libra, this full moon takes place in the part of your sky which rules your roots. So everything related to family, everything related to relatives, everything related especially if you have your own family, as in a partnership and the classic sense. But of course this can also extend to further relatives or extended family in that sense. And it can also have a lot to do with your sense of belonging, where it is that you belong in the world, which community, which country, which area, or what actually grounds you, what actually links you to a place or a feeling or finding yourself. And this energy, as I said, can have a lot to do with, your sense of groundedness, where it is that you are your most empowered and most stable and most prosperous version. Now, for some natives, it has something to do with their physical house, maybe an upgrade, maybe a rearrangement, maybe you take in a new person to live with you, or, for example, Libra natives who are parents, maybe one of your children is going to move out from your house, from your home, and that may change a lot in your homestead. But for other natives, this can be a quite deeply spiritual energy where their vision, their inner forces, their intuition, their emotions, especially the integrity of their emotional world, past, present, and future aspirations, of course, tell them something very, very important. They reflect back at them where they need to be in life, what makes them happy, what makes them feel whole. And even if this energy is not manifestory straight away, even if it does, for example, doesn't come with the new home, doesn't come for other natives with a husband, wife, with the family already formed, but the clarity of it, the feeling of it, and knowing deeply, without a shadow of a doubt, your truth of what makes you happy, that can be very, very life-changing, because it will mobilize you. Libra is, we must not forget, a cardinal sign, an initiator, very quickly following clarity with action, with communication, Libra specifics, but feeling deeply connected with, as I said, your emotional world. What exactly makes you happy? Where is your home? And as I said, this can be external, like physical, but it can be very, very internal. What state of emotion makes you feel at home? That clarity starts efforts, action, decisions, choices, in order to embrace that, in order to have a much stronger connection with yourself. Now, for some natives, of course, people can come back from the past. Someone may return from the distant past, an ex, an old lover, an old friend, an old boss even, an old colleague, who brings an element of surprise, who brings an element of new, but that new is exactly what you need to remind you of what makes you feel at home. So I do hope that this was helpful. Thank you so much for listening and wishing you a blessed full moon, sorry. For natives born under the sign of Scorpio, this full moon can bring a lot of brainstorming because this is taking place in the area of your sky which has to do with your lower mind, with your plans, with how you perceive reality in a very down-to-earth sense. So this is a very powerful problem-solving energy, figuring it out, answering certain questions that your own being is posing to you. But when I say answering, this is where it's answering in a practical way, where you can actually do something with it. For those Scorpio natives who have been brainstorming or desiring to initiate a new project, a new business idea, or upgrade their existing business, financial speculations, or any kind of speculations, this can come with blessings. It can come with support. Support from your partners is very, very likely if you do live in a stable relationship. But when I say partner, it can be, for example, old business partner. It can be someone who you worked with. It can be someone who you know, a neighbor. Any one-on-one alliance can actually bring you an element of inspiration, an element of truth, an element of know-how, knowledge, facts, figures. And usually I say that comparing your situation with others is always a bad idea. But there are moments when life actually reflects you through this comparison, that if another person could do it, so can you. If another person is managing, you can manage 10 times better. If, let's say, a less skilled, less intelligent, less knowledgeable, less ambitious, less whatever you want person is achieving something, well, for a Scorpio native, that means that if you input your strength into it, especially third house, intelligence, your knowledge, what you've learned, what you've picked up in life from anything, other self-learning, except masteries, all of those elements can really, really be useful to you. But Jupiter comes with a blessing, so this can play out as a brainstorming. This can play out with the best idea, with the best project, with the best travel plan, or with the best alliance, being that much clear to you. So you can imagine that this energy might play out as you initiating this, pursuing this, starting to make, actual moves towards this. But needless to say, this is also a good energy for travels, for anything that has to do with foreign countries, especially if you work there. Further rewards might come, which might be even unexpected, or a new offer or an invitation to go abroad and resume work or start a new type of work, or even just for pleasure, for like a holiday plan may enter your life at this time. So thank you, Scorpio natives, for listening. Until next time, wishing you a blessed full moon. For natives born under the sign of Sagittarius, this full moon for you guys has to do with the house of birth, that area of your sky which rules everything that has to do with value, with money, including a powerful financial energy, self-worth, and the delights and the joys of the five senses. Now, sometimes life should be about whatever makes us happy, whatever makes us embody our greater values, whatever makes us live in the now, the joys of life. So this full moon can be quite relevant in this sense. Now, where does this come from? Well, this can come from, sensuality. Regardless if you're in a stable bond or are looking, sensuality can come into your life in a various number of ways. Your partner surprising you, your partner making you feel loved, your partner reflecting the very, very best at you. But this can also come, especially if you're single, as life surprises. How is life complimenting you? How is life basically encouraging you to shine your values? Now, of course, this can also be a material energy, because second house, money, wealth, finances, financial help, it can come into your life from things that you have been initiated in the past, especially if the past activities or you helping certain people or whatever financial moves you made in the past, even if it's just paying off debts, that can be seen as delayed gratification. That can be seen as a sacrifice that you have done there and then, but it is only now where the joy of it, the rewards of it, the blessing of it enters your life. Now, of course, for some natives, this can also mean the chance to pay off a loan, a debt, etc. But that in itself is freeing of the chains, freeing of the bonds. That in itself, in your freedom, makes you feel more valuable. It opens you up to truly the pleasure of the five senses. And for those natives who have been committed to some kind of work, some kind of efforts in your career, in work, etc., again, rewards may reflect and pop up in your life at this time, because this is, a Capricornian energy. It is the state of manifestation, a seed of intention, regardless of which area of life it may come from, but it highlights your value, it highlights your stability, it highlights basically all the reasons for you to feel proud of who you are, but in the now. So thank you, Sagittarius natives, wishing you a blessed Capricorn full moon. Until next time. For natives born under the sign of Capricorn, well, this is quite a personal full moon because you guys are the hosts of it. And the Jupiter trine is really, really pleasant, and actually it feels like a blessing on a deep, deep, deep personal way, because this is, as I said, for you guys, first house activity. Some life either through partners, and when I say partners, not just your romantic partner, not just the person who you live with, especially if you're single and don't have that. It is basically any one-on-one alliance. It is the other in life. May that be a neighbor, may that be just a random person if nothing else is possible, may that be a co-worker, may that be people who you shared something with, may that be friends and family. Other people are reflecting back at you something really, really positive. This is where you are in the spotlight. The reflector light is definitely in a karmic sense and in also perhaps a social sense on you. What is it that you have been doing in the past months? Because that can elevate you, and the elevation is only at this moment. And you see yourself in a glorious, in a more, elevated light where life, but on a very deep and personal way, feels like a blessing, where you kind of get satisfaction with who you are and all the motivation to keep on growing into the person of your dreams. Now, blessings can come from, for example, Capricorn natives who are parents from their children. This is where maybe your child achieved something important. Maybe your child is triumphant, is successful, or they give you a very, very big surprise with a completion of their lives. Well, of course, it might not be, physically lived by you, but if your child achieves something really, really big, something great, something worth to be proud of, that speaks all that much about you. Because you're the parent, you're the roots of the child. So, again, for Capricorn natives who are parents, I expect something really wonderful coming from your children. And this is where it doesn't have to be biological children. If you nurtured a soul as a parent officially or not, or if you've been a parental figure to other people, even the same age, because you might have been the mature person, this is gonna reflect back at your life in a really, really beautiful way, where, as I said again, the spotlight is on you. For those natives who are not children, who do not, because everyone is a child, the inner child, that's what I wanted to say. So for those natives who are not parents, this is where the inner child is delighted by something. Something sparks up your heart. Or for example, for those natives who just started a relationship, you might be getting the very, very best of the connection right now. The delightful moments of the relationship. But again, I have to say it for you guys, for every sign, let's wait until Venus retrograde ends later in the autumn until we make stable commitment. Because Venus needs to reveal different sides of the connection. But regardless of this, the joy of the present, something that truly delights your heart, can be experienced at this Capricorn full moon. And also, last but not least, creativity. Anything that has to do with your creative energies expressing themselves, artistically or not. This is a really, really favorable time for that. So thank you, Capricorn natives, for listening, and wishing you a blessed full moon. For natives born under the sign of Aquarius, well, perhaps it is for you guys for whom it is the most magical type of full moon. You know, when we say full moon, you know, everyone kind of expects, you know, a sense of magic, a sense of, you know, our emotions truly getting us into a more mystical, into a more supernatural, into a more, how should I say, even romantic, why not vibe. For you guys, it is exactly that, because it has to do, this full moon takes place in the part of your sky which has to do with mysticism, with spirituality, and with your deep unconscious forces. Now, for some of you guys, it is where something is revealed. A secret. Maybe a secret that you are holding, have been holding for years. And that comes as a big, big relief and release, because chances are you will get support and understanding. For example, coming out of the closet if it's the case. For other people, it is another person's secret which will be quite influential. You knowing that, the revelatory energy of that gives you a very strong tactical advantage and something, truth that you need to hear. But let's get back to the more mystical side of it. Will be a really, really good period for dreams manifesting, for intuitive forces guiding you to mysterious and almost miraculous manifestations of the spirit. It is a really, really good energy for everything that has to do with, you know, spiritual work, spiritual efforts, manifesting something, spiritual knowledge, meeting a teacher, coming across someone deeply inspirational who basically feeds your spirit. This can also represent as your own self-prophecy fulfilling itself. What have you been guided through dreams or, you know, altered state of consciousness in the past months? It can be that seed of intention that maybe was planted into you by the universe, because this is 12th house, is now growing. It is now, you know, coming together. And for other natives, this can also represent strong support, strong love, strong solidarity coming from family. Or for those natives who are in an established bond, for you guys it can also represent as the partner wanting to be serious about it. So a proposal of marriage, or for those of you guys who are actually married, this is where a renewing of the vows, a renewing of the marriage, but of course in a symbolic way, but it makes you feel that much more wonderful, and it gives you a deeper soul level comfort, if that makes sense. So thank you so much, Aquarius natives, for listening, and wishing you a blessed full moon. For natives born under the sign of Pisces, well, without a doubt, this is a really, really inspirational, aspirational, and friendly, in that sense, new moon. Why friendly? Because it has to do with that part of your sky which also rules friendships, karmic friends, close friends, but also acquaintances, and your connection to people who you share a same ideal, philosophy, faith, etc. with. So especially if you guys have been part of any kind of charitable, lucrative projects in that sense, humanitarian efforts, or you sharing strength with other people to achieve something, even if it's not, even if it's your project, if it's a business, if it's something creative that can reflect back at your life at this time as a blessing, as a completion, as honors. This is where new friends can be found at this time, in a sense where something that you have done attracts another person into your life as a strong friend, as an ally, or maybe it is about your hopes, your dreams, which are seen through a new lens, and you get an ally to accomplish them with. This energy also, as I said, favors things that you have done in the past, especially things which might have had an element of sacrifice to them, or passion, creational energy invested into something, especially if it hasn't paid off at that time. It can pay off at this moment quite handsomely. But when I say pay off, either in a real concrete way, because Capricorn is Capricorn, it's very real, but also in a karmic way. And if it's a karmic way, if that is a reflection of the universe for your past good deeds, everything that you have done with love, with passion, with determination, with ambition, but of course not necessarily self-centered in that sense, but also, when I say self-centered, in the light sense, where you've done certain things for yourself, where that was like self-expression, that is absolutely favored, that reflects back at your life now as honors, as I said, karma, giving you new allies, new friends, or a new group of people altogether, where they value you in a way that you could not be valued until now for any reason, or new connections. Those natives who are, occupied with project-based work, they can manifest a new. Now, this is where I want to say group of people, but that can take on the shape and form of either a firm or even institutions of the state who lend you help, or law or any legislation transforms, it changes, and it is that which comes as a great blessing, as a facilitator, or maybe something pops up in your life again that has to do with legislation or law or institutions doing things a certain way, where a favorable opportunity just invites you to go and be part of something, go and try out something where maybe the risks will be absolutely minimal, or, as I said, the state, the help especially of the state or centralized power or local community, the council, or even a non-profit organization makes it easy for you. So it can come as a strong moment of karmic rewards, which does connect you with new people or a karmic ally. And for very few natives, even that ally comes back from the past but totally reformed, where they truly represent a much greater value and worth that they have ever done before. So thank you everyone for listening. And when I say everyone, not just Pisces natives, because this is the end of this horoscope, wishing everyone a blessed full moon. And I do hope that, this moment of karmic respite given to us by Jupiter, the trine of Jupiter, truly, truly delights us and energizes us to fight that much stronger for our hopes and dreams and our own personal justice and equity in the months to come, which will not be all that easy, but it will be definitely worth it. If you'd like this horoscope and enjoyed it, you can support me and my channel in the PayPal link in the description below. Thank you everyone, until next time, bye for now.